So we have played a variety of games ranging from linear and design stories to emergent. A game that I chose to focus on is World of Warcraft, or WoW, and specifically Classic or Vanilla. It was developed by Blizzard and was initially announced in 2001 but released in 2004. WoW did bring massive multiplayer online role-playing games or MMORPGs into the mainstream and had a massive big G component, which we'll talk about in a moment here. In fact, according to Harvard, WoW is the most popular MMORPG by subscription ever, and according to this Harvard article, grosses roughly $1 billion per year. So it's a pretty big game, which does have that big G component, which we're going to look at here. So this is YouTube. If you just type in World of Warcraft, you see a lot of videos come up, things like updates, tutorials, different things that you should try out. There's also some videos about hardcore, which is a new mode that they added. Basically, it adds permadeath. So if you die, that's it for your character. There's also different forums like Wowpedia or Wowhead, which you'll see in a moment here, which helps you maybe with questions that you have. So like if you're not sure about your class or maybe your profession or maybe you're in an area of the map that you're not familiar with and you want to learn more about, you can do that. Or if you need help with a quest, you can also read about that. And you can see different things here, like there's rewards and things of that nature. And then, of course, there's Reddit. Reddit can be a cool place. Here you can see there's different things happening in the World of Warcraft Reddit, like people meeting up, fan art. There's also things like cosplay, like the sword that they made from the game. But what are maybe things that keep bringing me back to the game? The first thing is nostalgia. I played this when I was younger, and every time I open that game and hear that intro song, it always, brings me back to a simpler time. The second part is relationships, both that you can build and that you can strengthen within the game. So for instance, let's say it's a rainy day, you and your friends don't really want to do much. You can meet up in game and still hang out and create memories and create those like emergent stories. A fun thing or a fun fact, though, about the game is I actually met one of my friends inside of the game about 3 years ago. I kept getting harassed by orcs, and he actually ended up saving my life. Not once, but twice. And I guess after the second time, he's like, I guess we should just party up since you're probably going to keep dying unless I'm going to help you. And then we got to talking, and now we're friends. So it's really cool how you can create those bonds and relationships within the game. And actually, this person that was dancing with me, I don't know who they were. They just started dancing with me, so it was really cool. Outside of that, the third thing that really interests me is the gameplay mechanic. I love checklist-style games, basically where you can go collect a bunch of objectives and then go out and do them. So on the right-hand side, you can see my Questy tracker, which is actually an add-on with all the quests that I was working on. And then when you actually fire up the game, you have to pick a server. So there's different types of servers. There's player versus player. There's role play player versus player, and normal. Depending on your preference style, you can choose whichever. If you do choose a PvP style server, you can only have one of the two on that server. So you can either have all Alliance characters or all Horde characters on that server. So choose wisely. But after you choose, you can actually choose the race that you want to be. So you could be a human, a night elf, a troll, undead, whatever you want to do. And then you can choose between body type 1 and body type 2. And then you can choose your class. So there's warrior, rogue, mage, warlock, priest, druid, shaman, paladin. And then you can customize your person and give them a cool name. I generally go for corny or punny, but to each its own. And then you get about 2 minutes of lore. This one is specific for Night Elf. It's basically saying that nature has come out of balance and it's your job to find a way to bring it back into balance. To show a different version, this is the undead starting lore. Basically, it's telling you just got your freedom. You want to keep your freedom. You don't truly have any loyalties to anyone. And then you start off with those quests for the undead. So as far as game mechanics, This is a druid. You can see that for the most part, it is a ranged magical game mechanic, at least in the beginning stages. You do use mana to try to cast your spells. And right now, you're going to see me try to cast a spell, and then she's going to yell at me and say, I don't have enough mana to do that, which then you revert to doing a more melee style to, finish off your target. To show a counter example of the game style that you could also play is a paladin. You actually don't have a ranged attack, at least not right away. It's mostly melee, and you can tell take a little bit less damage. You have a little bit more armor, and you're stronger with a melee weapon. And we already saw a little bit of a hunter gameplay. So you use that arrow, and you have a pet or a beast that helps you out. There's also, for the most part, it's linear questing for World of Warcraft. And everybody that starts in that area will do the same quests. But there are some specific quests for each class. So here you can see that I'm taming a beast. That is something specific to hunters. You actually have to do a series of quests to learn how to do that. So it's really cool. But outside of that, it's mostly linear. You do follow the quests as they come up. You don't have to, though. You can completely, go on your own path and do whatever you want. So, for instance, you could make a level 1, night elf and then travel to where the humans are if that's what you prefer and do the quests there. Or you can just forgo the quests and go around, just taking out different enemies if that's what you're interested in. Or you can go fishing. It's one of the professions inside of the game. This is actually a sped up version of me fishing for about 3 minutes. I think I actually spent like 10 minutes fishing, but I figured people don't want to see all 10 minutes of that. So you could do that. You could just go around working on your professions, gathering resources and doing things of that nature. You could also become a capitalistic lord if you want and just sell things and collect resources and just collect money if that's what you're interested in. So there's actually so many different things that you can do. Something that I do love about this game is this emergent experience or mutual experience. So here I'm going to do a quest, which requires me to take out the Den Mother. You can actually see it on my questy tracker. And this person was also doing the same quest. So they're like, oh, do you need the mother? And I was like, oh, yeah, you. And then they add me to their party. Because the way that World of Warcraft works, that the first person who gets the hit on the enemy, they get the credit for taking them out, even if somebody else helps them. So, for instance, if they had hit this bear before me, I would have had to wait till it respawned, which is quite frustrating. So it was really nice of them to add me to the party so we can all get the credit. So you can see here in a second, they both have the questy add-on. And it's actually really cool because once we take out this bear, all of us send a message basically saying, oh, yeah, completed. Yep, there you go. So it's pretty cool. And then we all, leave the party afterwards. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you do. It really depends. In this case, we did. But this is a great segue to add-ons and mods specifically. So I love mods. I think they really make the game more fun. Here's the ones that I use. Questy, for instance, we've talked about and you've actually seen already. Something that I love is voiceover. Basically, in the traditional classic gameplay, when you talk to a quest giver, you have to read the quest, and then, from there you can figure out what they want you to do. But the voiceover, as it kind of implies, does a voiceover of that quest, and it actually cues them, so if you want to walk away from the quest giver, it'll still keep reading the quest to you. But yeah, there's a ton of different mods you could do. I'm actually going to download Leatrix here in a second, which helps make the map a little bit more functional. It is a great add-on as well. And there's just a bunch of different ways that you can customize the game for what you're doing. Like if you want something more heavy towards the auction house and you're going to be doing a lot of that, you can get add-ons and mods that's going to help you with that. I don't generally do that, but you can. And then, of course, every game has something that is infuriating. And this is a fine example of one of those things. It is an online game, which means that if your connection's unstable or, I don't know, your internet and you are fighting, you will get disconnected. So you can see here, I'm trying to attack this thug, and it's not letting me attack her no matter what I'm doing. And of course, I get disconnected. It happens. It's frustrating, but it doesn't outweigh the pros. Something that I really love about this game is that there is a incentive to come and play by yourself, get good loot, and share it with other characters or other friends. And it just keeps me coming back again and again. It's just such a great game.